This is Paula Coldagelli from Brookfield Christian Reformed Church. Dear friend, also, which I guess I say pretty often on these, but it's true. We did the camp board thing together. Well, camp together before the camp board thing together. But we've gotten to know each other well through your son Josh, too, who did the camp thing with me, but also college with me. And so that's been a joy, getting to know your family and you getting to know mine. Oh, classmates at LDN. We talk about LDN on here all the time. Yeah. So we did that together for 3 years. But anyways, I'm doing the introduction. Why don't you introduce yourself, Paula?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me like how long I've known you. And I was like, oh, guy, 2009, a long time ago. Started at camp.
Well, probably 14 or 15, 2014 or 15, one of those years.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago already.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm so much older than you. But anyway, yes, I am the executive director of ministries at Brookfield Christian Reformed Church. People often ask me, what does that mean? And I try to explain it in a way that I help ministries in the church find the best volunteers that they can, and leaders. So I help develop leaders. I help find leaders for ministry. We also help start new ministries or put ministries to bed that need to go to bed after a long time. And also I do some higher level administrative work, like the background checks of the church, the insurance for the church. We do a lot of the budget and that kind of thing. That's my job in a nutshell. And I also serve as the Classis Wisconsin representative to the Council of Delegates. And I'm starting my 4th year of service, 2nd term in that.
That might need a little bit of explaining. Can you talk about just what the Council of Delegates is?
Right. So the Council of Delegates is a deliberative body. I think bigger than Classis, smaller than Synod, I always say, as far as in scope and size. A representative from each Classis in the U.S. and Canada, and then there's a number of at-large representatives to kind of balance out that body, since there's like less churches in Canada. And then we serve in lieu of, or in the interim of Synod, so make decisions that need to be made that can't maybe wait for Synod, or help vet things through to Synod. And in the case of the last 2 years, we have met in lieu of Synod since we haven't met.
Yeah. So if it helps people, and maybe it would complicate it more than help, but at the classical level, our Classis of Wisconsin churches, we have a similar body, which is the Classical Interim Committee, which Pastor Drew from my church sits on, and Pastor Mark, formerly of Brookfield, but up in Appleton now. Those guys sit on it, and they just kind of help deal with business that comes up between the regular Classis meetings. And sometimes that business needs to go to Classis, and so they make sure it gets on the agenda. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it needs to get kicked to this committee or another, and they distribute it. So just kind of a governing group of people that make sure business gets dealt with.
Yep, that's exactly it. And it's relatively new, from my understanding. I can't remember how old this COD is. Maybe 5 or 6 years. So sometimes we're still finding our way. And I think sometimes we find ourselves going, oh, we were really overstepping. Like, this is a synodical thing. We need to like pull back. And so we just kind of keep learning how to best serve the churches and serve Synod, since we are a church Classis Synod quality structure. So
right. Between the number of different things in our world and in our denomination, that must be a really busy committee to be, or council to be a part of, Paula?
It is, and I'm grateful to not only the support of our Classis, but also the support of my local church that allows me to serve. There's 3 meetings a year. Basically, it's a week at each time, so 3 full weeks of just kind of reading, preparation, meetings, deliberation, all of that. But then I also serve on the Nominating Services Committee. So those are some, subcommittee meetings that require, a meeting quarterly. I was on the SALT team, the structure and leadership team, that was a first to help write job descriptions for the new general secretary, and then was asked to take that a step further. And that was kind of a concentrated amount of time, but that was a lot of work that I try to do off my clock here, but can't always do that.
Right.
So
yeah. You a lot of your job at church and a lot of the stuff you're talking about in support of classes is exactly that, support.
Mm-hmm.
What, I mean, for pastors or guys who have their license to exhort, like we've mostly talked to on Classis Wisconsin Weekly so far, you kind of have big rewarding moments in your work where you get to deliver a sermon you've been working on in front of people, or you get to finish a book or a project or a curriculum, and it's done and it's out there. What is rewarding about your work, which so often can be behind the scenes? I mean, what do you find that's really life-giving in the kind of work that you do?
So I think when you see, I don't know, like leadership growth in a ministry leader, that maybe somebody you thought, I think God's really gifted him or her to XYZ, right? And then all of a sudden you see, maybe it started small, right? Maybe they started doing this and now all of a sudden they're leading this. So rewarding. I also lead a women's Tuesday night Bible study, and we worked through the book of Hebrews this year. Very challenging, rich and rewarding. But like when you see those aha moments coming in people's lives where you really know that faith is forming deeper, those are just kind of the quiet things. But even just well-executed worship services, classes meetings, which I had to miss, but kind of a lot of the team together to make that happen. Those are rewarding things, right? Like that went well,
The other thing I was thinking of when you were kind of talking about your job at Brookfield, finding the right people to help in the right ministries. So we're a church in Oostburg, and I know Brookfield is probably very similar. I can't speak for you guys, but we really value participation really, really highly. So if we can get more people to participate, in almost every case, it's a yes. There are some exceptions, right? There's certain qualifications you need to be an elder or a deacon or to preach. And certain things that maybe we really like you not to have on your history, to work with kids or something like that, right? And you said you deal with background checks and those kind of things. But how do you balance participation and giftedness? Do you know what I'm getting at? I mean, what are some things that you use to kind of focus you as you're making those decisions?
So I think it's really interesting. We kind of, this sounds bad, I hope you guys don't do this or anybody listening, but we sort of ditched the spiritual gift kind of assessments.
Oh, yeah, I hate those things. I'll come on with you and say,
they answer them the way they think they should rather than who they really are. So I have a series of questions that I vet through with people when they're becoming members, like what is the gift of your head and your heart and your hands? So if you have all the time in the world, what do you think about? What do you love to do? What are you passionate about? And what are you good with your hands? And a lot of times when they fill that out, I think, oh, that person has the gift of hospitality or of workmanship or whatever. It tells me so much. But I think that our kind of rule of thumb here is to let people try and let people fail, because you may think you're gifted at something and other people will come around side and go, that's probably not your gift. Let's go try something else. To your point though, we have rigorous background checks, and you're not going to work with kids. We don't, unless you've been here 6 months. Certain positions require membership, like teaching a class. Teaching would require that you agree with our doctrine and our beliefs. But again, it's letting people try, and maybe giving them the small task first and growing into a bigger task. And I found some people are clearly so gifted that you see it right away. Wow, that person was able to just tackle this, and you start thinking about where that person might fit next. And then you see people that, they thought they were this great leader, but there's no follow through. There's no email saying, so, and it's helping people just navigate through that too. And, walking alongside them. So
I was going to ask that. Do you do some of that discipleship work of helping people say, okay, you want to be in this leadership position, but here's some communication practices, or whatever scenario? Is that the kind of stuff you do?
Yeah, sometimes they're not really fun conversations to have, but just to help us all get better, because we are not a very staff-driven church. We really want to continue to be a volunteer-driven church. And also to really widen those tent pegs, right? Like, let people go deeper with God through the gift of service, because it is a form of worship. It can be a form of worship.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. Well, that's really great, Paula, and I appreciate you on the camp stuff and all the stuff you do for the classes and the denomination. You've really given a lot for a lot of us in ways that a lot of people don't recognize, I think. So we appreciate you. Any prayer requests from Brookfield or from you, Paula, before we go?
Well, I just think I was so sad to miss Young Kwang's examination. I think just that he continues to navigate life here in Wisconsin and be so warmly loved and embraced in our community. And I think just, personally, Lent is a special time, right? It's so easy, at least for me, to get caught up in it's Holy Week, or it's this, or it's this, like the tasks at hand, that I really want to sit and reflect on just this very special, meaningful time of year.
Yeah.
And not get too busy.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for your time today. We'll keep those things in prayer. And Young Kwang did so great. He had a little bit of home field advantage, which was fun. To be examined in some church, but we would have done great anywhere. So that was awesome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes.
Fun to see you.
Breaking the gender barrier for me.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Paul. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Bye.